Hey everyone, it's Rustabout Collector here, and as you can see before you, in this video we are taking a look at an absolutely insane Facebook Marketplace Bionicle haul. And what's also crazy is that this haul doesn't just cover Bionicle, it also covers my other top series that I collect. We've got Halo, we've got Lego, we've got Star Wars, and we have Bionicle, which is just awesome. This haul genuinely has me a bit speechless. This will be a bit of a longer video because there is a lot to get through, so hopefully you stick around and take a look at what's here. For a quick bit of backstory, basically I got on Facebook and here's the photo that I saw, this little tiny box of Bionicle. It was fairly cheap and I'd been looking for some Bionicle just to, buy and sort and just mess around with, just to fill out my collection a little bit, so I thought I would risk it. And I went out there, just thinking I was going to get this small tub. Once I got there, I was like, hey, if you have any other boxes of Bionicle or Lego, or really like Star Wars stuff in general, Star Wars action figures, I'm looking for those too. So in case, you had other stuff, let me know. And she went back inside and she brought out a tub. And then she brought out another tub. And then she brought out another tub. And yeah, it was a never-ending stream of tubs being pulled out of the basement, basically. So by the end, I'm sitting there in the garage with like 4 totes of just random stuff that I had to sort through to pull out all the different Bionicle parts. A lot of them were broken down into individual parts, and I spent maybe 30 minutes to 40 minutes just pulling out individual Bionicle pieces. We just spent maybe 30-40 minutes and sorted out all the Bionicle parts. Some of them were partially built, but most of them were just individual parts and pieces. So as you'll see in this haul, the figures that I was able to build up to I would say 99% completion. Those missing parts, I kind of wonder if they're just back in those bins, but they're all small enough pieces that I can easily replace them. I got a lot of masks and weapons and all the primary Bionicle pieces. Most of the pieces I'm missing are just secondary pieces, like maybe a Technic pin or something like that. But yeah, long story short, I did not expect the sheer amount of Bionicle and other cool toys I was able to get from this one simple Facebook posting. Hauls like this do not typically pop up very often, and so when they do, it's just a real treat. It really it made my whole month basically to find all of these Bionicle parts and then bring them home and sort and build them all. In a lot of ways, it was like Christmas morning after you get your first Bionicle set and you dump all the pieces out and start building, only multiply that by a lot of Bionicles. But without further ado, let's get into this haul and take a look at everything I got here, because man, it is a doozy, and I am so grateful to have been able to find this. Now, to start things off with some non-Bionicle elements, we have this complete or nearly complete Halo Wars Scorpion. This is one of the very first sets from Halo Wars and from Halo Mega Constructs in general, or Mega Block. There's been 3 rebrands since the start of this line. I think this was back when it was Mega Block. However, this is a really cool set, a very classic set. It's very finicky, and lots of pieces will easily fall off of it because that is how old Mega Constructs, Mega Blocks were. These original sets were not the best, but they're still very classic in my mind. I'm still a big fan of Halo, so I love having this original set in my collection now. Surprisingly, we also got the figures from that Scorpion set, just a standard Elite and a red Halo Wars Spartan. But what is also crazy is that while I was sorting for all of those Bionicle parts, I also found some great Lego Star Wars minifigures, including a complete original battle pack of those clones from the Clone Wars. We've got 3 of the pilots on my favorite clone mold from Lego with those hollow visors. I absolutely love those old clones for some reason. It's just so nostalgic for me. It's what I grew up with. So I got 3 of those, some astromech droids, and best of all, I got the Force Unleashed minifigures from the Rogue Shadow. And I did find some parts to the Rogue Shadow. I did get those. It's not complete, but I might be able to piece it together from my own collection. But yeah, there's the Battle Damaged Vader, Juno Eclipse, and Starkiller himself. Those figures are so awesome, and Lego really has not done anything like that since, as far as, video games. We never got like a Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order, but back in the day, they did the Force Unleashed. Now, there's also some really awesome figures from Exoforce and Dino Attack, which is such an underrated Lego theme. And most important of all, we have a Jack Stone minifigure, one of the worst Lego sub-themes to ever exist. But now we have one of these guys in the collection, and hooray. But to go along with the dino attack, we also got this dinosaur. It's one of the classic ones. It's not a Triceratops, it's something else. It's similar to a Triceratops, but the printing on it is absolutely beautiful. I should be able to get the rest of the pieces built up out of it, but it's just such a cool set. Speaking of dino attack, we got 2 of these awesome T-Rex figures from Lego. Lego just does not do sets like this anymore. These giant molded pieces of plastic with articulated limbs, and even though it doesn't work on either of these would have a light up function in the eyes. When you press the top of the head, it would light up the eyes and the mouth. They're just so impressive as like Lego elements, and I could not leave them behind. Like, I just had to have these in the collection. I loved Dino Attack, and these big sets with the big monsters were just so cool. You almost wouldn't believe that these were Lego. Now then, getting into the elements that you all are here for, we have some Bionicle parts. The most important thing here, right? We have some of these great Kanohi discs. We have a ton of the Roxy slugs, including the rare orange and purple variants, which I think only came in like the booster packs you could buy of those. We've got these old like pre-molded Lego minifigure versions of the Toa Hordika, which I know people aren't really a huge fan of these, but I like them. They're charming. They're kind of awful, and they're charming. I don't know, they're cool. And going along with those, we have a bunch of the glow-in-the-dark Visorak, little gummy spider things, you know, from the system sets, which is very weird, you know, to have a Technic theme in a system line of sets. It was a weird crossover that Lego tried. I don't think these were terribly popular, but I like the pieces that came out of them. And in the back, we have some masks. Those are just the extra masks from sets that I couldn't complete, like 2 of the Toa Metru, as well as the gold Makuta mask, which actually came in a set with these guys, and then 2 Toa Nuva masks back there. So these are kind of the extra elements that I just don't have a place for, but they're kind of the collectibles that would come along with sets and things. Very cool pieces to have, especially these Roxy slugs. Absolutely love them. Randomly as well, mixed in with everything, was this complete Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan Starfighter. And just, you know, to make things all the better, to make this like the ultimate haul where there's Star Wars action figures, Halo Mega Blocks, and Bionicle. There was a clone trooper too, so this was like the ultimate Facebook Marketplace haul. But yeah, this is an antenna mold Revenge of the Sith clone. No hands, but I mean, it's fodder. It's perfect. You know, this is a great mold to have extra of. I'm not going to complain about finding one with no hands, you know. Now, as I mentioned, this haul spans all the eras, so I'll try and start with some of the earlier sets and build my way up to the more recent sets. But yeah, here is Toa Pohatu, the original Toa Pohatu, with that awesome stone kicking mechanism in his legs there. Now, I will say some of these sets do have like supplemental parts. I think the piece here in his neck is the wrong color, but ultimately, you know, it's complete for all intents and purposes. It fulfills that completeness in my collection. I just wanted to address that because some of these sets you'll see will be missing some parts or have some color swapped parts. But I wanted to show the ones that I could build at least 99% of. Oddly enough, there were quite a few of the Roxy as well, so I have now 2 Roxy of Earth. A nearly complete, this one's a little bit janky, I probably shouldn't include this one because he's missing quite a few pieces, but nearly complete Ice Roxy, which I absolutely love this color. The gray on white just looks really, really cool. The Roxy of Water, which this is actually probably my most favorite of the Roxy. I love the blue, it's just such a good color for these sets, and all of the Roxy have that really nice, unique metallic color in the plastic. You never saw that again after the Roxy, and it just, boy, do these look cool. I don't know, something about this one with the more ergonomic, like sleek weapons and the more fish-like spines across the back. This one is one of my favorites. Once again, with duplicates, there were actually 2 of these Roxy of Fire. I know these guys have names. I'm sorry. If you're a big Bionicle fan, you probably are screaming the names of each character I'm showing. I am sorry in advance that this video is probably not for you then, because I will not remember all of these names. I do remember some of them, but other ones like these guys, I don't remember them. I'm sorry. But actually, what's surprising though with these duplicates in particular is that there were almost enough parts to build a complete 3rd Roxy of Fire, which is just baffling. These aren't really characters you would typically get multiples of because they are individual characters. These are the Sons of Makuta. So very interesting that, you know, they had multiples of these, and I can't really be mad. This is a very iconic villain from Bionicle. It's probably the most iconic villain in my opinion, but yeah, I love the Roxy. I can never have too many of them. From most iconic to probably least iconic, we have my least favorite villain characters from all of Bionicle. the Vaki. I don't know why, these just aren't interesting to me. I've tried to appreciate them and I can't get behind them. The design is too simple. There's no real classy variations between them other than the colors and their weapons, whereas the Rakshi had like different color spines and slugs and all kinds of stuff. These guys are just kind of boring to me. I don't know why, but yeah, there's going to be quite a few of these, and I'm just going to breeze through them because I do not like the Vaki. So yeah, we're just going to kind of breeze through these because, like I said, the Vaki are not my favorite villains by any means. They're just kind of not interesting. They're not as unique as I would like. And so, you know, we got the water one, the ice one, and the fire one. And in keeping with the theme of villains that maybe aren't super interesting, we have the Visorak, which I actually like a bit more than the Vaki. They have this fun play feature with the pinchers. They have some really unique designs for each of their, I guess, body molds or head sculpts, whatever you want to call it, but they're very unique, and I do like that they had the Rodaka spinner, like you could use a ripcord and throw the little spinners off their back. I did have a couple in this lot, but not enough to complete every figure that needs them. But ultimately, yeah, I do like the Visorak, and having a couple more is always nice. You can kind of like hang them from your ceiling or find a way to maybe mount them on your wall where they're crawling down. That would be actually pretty awesome. Now going back in time a little bit, I actually had another Rakshi that I was able to complete. This one is the Rakshi of Stone. Again, the names, I know that there's very complicated names for these, and I'm sorry. I love Bionicle. I love building it. I love playing with it, but man, I cannot remember all the different characters' names. That said, though, this is probably my second or third favorite Rakshi. Like I said, the blue one is one of my all-time favorites. The snow and ice one, the white one, is also one of my favorites, but this one just stands out really nicely. I love the coordination between the weapons and the spines on his back. They work really well together, and yeah, these all had such unique colors. They all had more of a pearlized or metallic color for their primary, and then it was just never used in any other sets. Like, this isn't brown, this is like a pearlized metallic brown, and the red ones aren't red, they're like a metallic pearlized red, and we never saw that again. We never got to see that used in other sets. It's really unique for these Rakshi, and eventually, I'm obviously really close now with this slot. Eventually, I'll have a full set of 6. I think I'm just missing the green one in my personal collection. These were just childhood favorites of mine. They're very iconic for Bionicle, and having a full team, it just feels like, you know, if you're going to have any full team other than a full Toa team, a full team of Rakshi is just kind of a must-have. What was also fun to find and then build is that not only did I have the original Anua here, but there was also the Anua Nuva version of the character with these dual chainsaw blades and, you know, the action like that. You can attach those to his feet and make like treaded chainsaw boots. I don't know. They were really crazy with some of these designs, but this is obviously G1 and G2 Bionicle here, or Wave 1, Wave 2 Bionicle, however you want to look at it. And it's really fun to find and then build characters back to back like this, where you have their original version and then a later version with some slightly more upgraded elements. Now, I will be the first to admit that the Toa Hordika, when they were first revealed and released right after the Toa Metru, they were not my favorite. I could not really get behind these more weird and wacky shapes and designs, the new elements, the very hunched over build. And yeah, I know they're mutated. They're like creatures, they're beastly and everything. But I never really liked them as a kid, but now this is actually, oddly enough, in all of my years of collecting and all my years of enjoying Bionicle growing up and also as like a more adult collector now, I never had a complete Toa Hordika, and now I have 2 of them in my collection, and I gotta say now, with these in hand, kid me didn't know what he was talking about. These are actually really fun. They're very posable, and the way that these helmet pieces are made with the Borak eyes giving them different colors and a more hunched over look, it's very menacing and very unique for the Bionicle world. I know that, you know, they're probably still pretty divisive. I think there's definitely people that still don't like them to this day, but now that I have them in hand, I really think they're pretty sweet, actually. They're definitely not my favorite design for Bionicle, especially for Toa, but still, they have a certain charm and a certain quality of like animalisticness with them, which I know is the whole point, but I love it when a design comes together like this. So we have Wanua here, and we have Vakama. I think these guys are complete, or again, mostly complete. Like I said, sometimes I have substituted parts here and there just to make these guys as close as possible to being complete, even though they're, you know, maybe missing like one part or something. They're enough to be on a shelf and look complete, and that's really what I want them to do here. I also love that in some other fairly rare sets, I think this mask in particular was recolored into dark green, and then it was used as like a shoulder pad. I love those types of unique part uses and part recolors. I think one of the greatest shining parts of Bionicle is that they recolored so many different masks, and it was just awesome. And honestly, as the years went on with Bionicle, they didn't do recolors enough. There's so many masks that really only came out with one set that I wish we got in, you know, various colors, dark turquoise, gold, silver, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. As we get further into this haul, we'll see that whoever had all of these Bionicles in their childhood truly had the childhood of my dreams, especially with these larger, you know, mech Titan type builds. This one here being the Dark Hunter Kreka. Now this guy isn't complete. He is missing some elements on his legs, and some other parts are definitely replacement colors. Like I think this tube here is also one that I just replaced with a different color, but still it's the essence of the character. It's 99% complete, and this was again one that I always wanted as a kid. The dark blue is a really great color choice paired with silver and white detailing. There's a really fascinating rubber banded torso element that pivots as you move it and then will snap back into place. The head is also on a ball joint, and these are all things that as a kid I just didn't really realize went into these builds. I never handled them in person, and so building a lot of these from this haul was actually my first time interacting with so many of these builds, and it was so great to see how they came together, see the design elements that went into it back in the day, and getting to enjoy, you know, things like this, like a really unique torso build for the first time. Another really sweet feature here is this gear mechanism on the side, and what that does is flips forward this Kanohi disc blaster or launcher, so you can have it stored around on his back, and then you just flip that forward like that, and it makes a really sweet little play feature. You know, he can be fighting Toa, flip this forward, launch the disc, and then, you know, flip it back. Overall, I really like this guy, but I think that now that I'm handling it in person and seeing how gappy a lot of this armor is, you know, it's not the best build. It doesn't translate a lot of that animated style of his character from the show into a toy very well. I think there's just some elements that aren't here, but there are also a lot of elements that are there, like the fun play features and some of the cool unique builds that went into this, and especially the unique coloring. All these dark blue elements are really nice to have. But yeah, this one kind of lost some of its charm after I actually handled it in person. The play features are fun, but the build itself just feels a little bit weak in the torso. In keeping with that theme of Dark Hunters though, there was the other Dark Hunter himself, Nadiki, the Fallen Toa. This one actually came together in a rather surprising way. I found a bunch of the elements to build him, but I couldn't quite complete it from this lot, and then I realized I had like a 50% built version of him in my collection already, so I pulled that out, and then I was able to just kind of kit bash those two together and make a complete or nearly complete Nadiki. I think there's a couple pieces that I was missing, but still, it's 99% there, and it's really fun to have this guy with his really spider-like posability and these fun little pinchers that he has, which actually have some tension on them thanks to these rubberized connecting pins here. But yeah, this guy is really wild. It's one of the more unique builds to come out of Bionicle, especially in the Toa Metru era. Anyways, I'm really happy to have this one. I love the build on this one way more than the build on Kreka. And the only thing is, I wish that LEGO had actually made a Toa version of Nadiki. There might be one in canon, and I know that my favorite Toa, Toa Iruni, was actually originally conceptualized as the Toa version of this guy. But yeah, I don't think that ever stuck around. So for now, there's plenty of mocks online of people that have designed their version of Toa Nadiki, but I would love a canon version of him, you know, one that shows what he was like before the dark powers consumed him. Now, truly, out of this entire haul, the thing that has me the happiest and the most excited is not any of the really big builds that you'll see later in this video, or any of the really rare builds that you're going to see in this video. Instead, it is a simple Toa. And that Toa is Toa Lacan. I don't know what it is about the use of metallic pieces with the standard Toa colors, but I love the introduction of these elements mixed with these standard elemental colors. So you have gold with red, Toa Iruni brought in gold with green, and I'm actually missing one. I'm missing Toa Norik, who has silver and red, but I love this combination. And one thing I always wished LEGO had done was finish Toa Iruni's team. I know that there are some canonized designs that were done by Greg Farsty, the original creator of Bionicle, but I wish that they had made sets of them, because officially there were only 2 sets, and then we got this Toa Lacan. He's part of a different Toa team, but he still uses that awesome gold and red, and I absolutely love it. His weapons are really unique, his design is super cool, his mask is super cool, and he's actually complete. I could have probably pieced together his the beast that he rides. I think it's the Kikanello, but I did not have all the parts for that, so I was just happy to get this. I was just so happy to get Toa Lacan. Even if I didn't find half of the other things that I found in this haul, I would have been so happy just to get this, because I've been hunting this figure for a very, very long time. Speaking of Toa Iruni's Toa team, we actually did get figures of his entire team. However, they were these little guys, the little mutated versions of his team. Not the actual Toa team, which was such a disappointment. They made these and they're very cute, and now I have I think I have half of them. I think I have Toa Iruni, the green one, and now I have the white one and the brown one. I can't remember their names, but you know, I have got half of the team now, but I just wish that they had made the Toa versions of these guys. We were so close. We had 2 of them. We could have just gotten 4 more and we would have had a really cool and unique Toa team. But these guys are really cool, and maybe someday I'll go and make my own mock version of the Toa team and, you know, pose them with these little mutated versions of themselves. I did also get this Turaga Doom, which is such a weird figure to me because it uses the Metru Matoran body and build. It's very much not a Turaga build. However, it is complete, and you're saying, well, no, it's not, it's missing the mask. Well, I got bored after building all of these sets according to their instructions, so I took his mask and I did something rather fun with it. I built this custom Toa. I don't really have any thoughts of lore or story here. I just found some cool elements with these black and dark red pieces, and so I pieced them together, used Turaga Doom's mask that has that cool dark red and black marbling, and so yeah, there you go. There's a custom Toa. Maybe it's Doom as his Toa form, because at one point he was part of a Toa team. I don't know. I didn't have any story with him or anything like that. I just wanted to build a cool custom figure after following all the instructions with these. You know, I had to have some creativity, had to have some fun. I knew this was going to be a problem when I started this video, but we are already running out of room, and I have the full desk full of Bionicles, so I might pull some of these out just to make some extra room for these next couple figures. But we're going to go into some of the most brutal villains of all Bionicle, both in terms of character and in terms of design, and those would be the Paraka. This was a really interesting design shift for Bionicle when they did these along with the Toa Ignica, and they had these rubberized spines, and I don't know if this one works, but they had the light up eyes. Yeah, this one's battery is dead, but they just were so interesting, and they had the Zammer Sphere launchers, which I have a ton of the Zammer Spheres from this haul. I just don't have them with the figures because they'll just fall out. But yeah, we got a Paraka, the Paraka of Ice, and, you know, again, I'm not going to remember their names. I'm sorry. When I was a kid growing up, I remembered a lot of the Toa names, but the villains were just cool villains, you know? We also got this one, which was the one I always wanted as a kid because it had this cool buzzsaw weapon, and I love the way that they can fold up behind the arm like that. And this one actually has a working light system, so you can see there the batteries aren't dead, those eyes light up, and that's just such a fun play feature. It's really underrated what LEGO was doing in this era of toy making. They did some really interesting things with Bionicle. They did some interesting things with Lego. I think at this point, this was when Exoforce was coming out, and Exoforce had all those light up bricks. It was just really unique, and I loved what they were doing with it. I loved all the creativity, and these designs were certainly something else. We also got this one. I can't remember his name, but it's this one. And one of the other elements that I really loved with the Paraka is that their secondary colors were always so unique. We don't have a ton of pieces in this light tan color that we got as his secondary element, but they came out in this set. But this secondary tan color is really unique, as is the secondary color on Zactan here, which yes, I do remember his name. It's this like sand green color, and it's fantastic. So yeah, we almost have a complete set of all 6 Paraka from that, was it Voya Nui series when they brought in like the Toa Ignika, and you've got the Paraka wrap, you know, look that up on YouTube, by the way. Zartan endorses the Paraka wrap. So yeah, I appreciate these guys. They are very interesting. They have some great designs. And one of the things that's just so cool about them is those additional parts that are just uncommonly colored. That's something, again, like I mentioned with the masks, there's a lot of colors that LEGO did not use a lot of. And so it's great that we got them, but I just wish we got them in so many more parts, because if you want to say try and build a sand green Toa, you're going to be hard pressed to find a lot of primary pieces for a build like that in the right colors. Moving right along, we are still not done here, and we got to take a look at this little Takua. This came with like a crab. I can't remember its name. Is it like Poku or Puku, something like that? He has a pet crab, and the set was the crab with him. And once again, I could build the figure. I was able to find all the pieces for that, but then like with Toa Lakan, I couldn't find all the parts to build the little crab. So I'm happy to get this one though. This build of the Matoran, where they have the Koli staff and they actually have a little bit of a mechanized system for their body. This build is the build of Matoran that I am trying to collect one of every one that they made. I want to say that they made somewhere around 8 variations of this body style, and they just, you know, swapped out the mask and the colors and all that, and they made different characters. They made Jala in this style. He came with some sort of bird, and the rest were all just individual characters, single packed. And actually what's insane is I'm going to put a photo right here. This is a Reddit post where somebody found all of those Matoran somewhere in Africa, I believe, in some small shop, and they were being sold for basically what was retail back in the day. It's absolutely insane, and I'm so jealous, because that's basically like the Bionicle dream, right? You have that dream where you walk into the store and you see Bionicle on store shelves in 2020 or 2023, you know. Speaking of Matoran, kind of, we have the savior himself, Matoro, and this one is actually 100% complete with all the right colored pieces and everything, and I love it. So having it now, I think this is the Toa Mari version of Matoro. It makes me so happy. My goal is to have every version of Matoro, so like all the way down to the McDonald's version of Matoro, and then like the Koli version of Matoro, and then all the different Toa version. So yeah, he's my favorite Bionicle character that we see repeatedly, especially when he had that sand blue mask. And this figure build is so unique with the way that it uses a foot as like the piece to build the torso, giving him more of a hunchbacked look, and he's got these shoulder pads and this massive claw arm. It's really enjoyable. It's a creative build, and I love it. And these hoses coming off of his, you know, chain gun here also just add to that whole aesthetic. I wasn't a fan of all the designs of the Toa Mari, but this one in particular I really, really enjoy. If you can believe it, that is actually all of the small builds, and we have 4 more things to take a look at. Actually, 5 more things to take a look at that are much, much bigger builds. The first one is Godunka here. I think that's how you say his name. I don't know. This is one of the creatures of Mari Nui, and boy, is this a weird and creative build. This was really fun to put together because, again, these are the sets that I saw in catalogs in the comics growing up, but I never owned them, so I never got to see all the crazy build techniques that went into making these you know? This guy's absolutely wild with these arms and spikes up at the top, and then he has these pretty interesting kind of pistoned legs that actually have some really nice support structures built into them. And of course, most interesting of all is his head with this unique molded piece in translucent blue with the neon eyes, and then his giant spiked mouth that's actually articulated. I don't know if kids were super stoked to get something that was just like a monster, but I know I certainly would have been back in the day. And again, there's a lot of crazy parts that go into building this. There's 3 Toa Mari torsos that build this out, and then from there there's all sorts of sockets and things to make sure that this figure actually can stand with some stability. And I'd say they did a pretty good job here. This one is a really solid build. It does look a little bit gappy from certain angles, but honestly, just looking at it like face on, It looks really, really intimidating and absolutely awesome. I love the way these eyes just pop out against the dark blue and silver of the body. And next up we have Toa Pohatu, but not the Toa Pohatu that we looked at earlier. This is the Toa Pohatu of air, of speeder bikes, of levitation. Yeah, I don't know. They brought back classic characters and then they gave them very interesting new designs, and it's kind of a cool era of the comics, but I definitely was out of collecting Bionicle when these were big. So like I said at the start of this video, this haul basically spans the entire lifetime of Bionicle as a theme. Not really counting G2 like when they tried to reboot it, but we go from wave 1 all the way up until basically close to the end of the line. I know that there was still like the Galatorian series after this, but this is pretty darn close to the end of Bionicle G1. And yeah, this is pretty incredible to have like this much of a history, a timeline, if you will, between the differences in figures, articulation, and stylization. It's really fascinating to look at. But this figure is actually technically incomplete without one major item. Yeah, I somehow missed the part of Bionicle where they started doing whole speeder bikes with figures, because this is basically like Star Wars and Blade Runner and like so many other themes. I love it. This is huge, it's bulky, it's got a built-in handle where you can actually like fly it around. It has flip down blasters or laser cannons or something, and it has Zammer spheres loaded into the body that can be launched from underneath. This is an intense build and it is so cool to see here in person. Once again, something I saw in the comics growing up, never handled it in person, and now finally get to see it and actually get to, you know, play around with it. I have the character that rides on it, and he's a little bit finicky to get on there, and you know, it's gonna be hard to do it on the video, but yeah, he'll get on there, fly it around, and it looks awesome. Traveling back to Mari Nui, we also have Toa Lesovic, I believe. I'm butchering the name, I'm sure, but basically he's like a lone wandering Toa. His entire team was killed, and so he just wanders around aimlessly feeling guilty for their loss. And this is a really sweet build. It's got some really nice recolors of another Toa's mask. I think it's also in dark blue, so they recast it in this light green. They built this awesome speeder bike for him to fly around underwater. It has these flip out landing gear. And yeah, this one being 100% complete was a real treat for me. This is one of those things that I just missed out on because I didn't really buy a lot of toys new growing up. And so I never knew that this even existed until genuinely maybe like 6 months ago. I was doing some research and I was watching Beyond the Brick here on YouTube, and he reviewed this guy and I went, wait, which Toa team is that guy a part of? Sure enough, he's just a one-off character that they made. They never really gave us any of the other members of his team, and there's probably some like comic books that explain more of his story, but I didn't even know that he existed. And so now having him complete and, you know, here with his speeder and everything, what a treat. What an absolute treat. I'd say Toa Lakan was the real highlight of this haul, but this would be the second part of the highlight. I love this character design, the dark green with the light green with this really unique mask. It's awesome. I'm so happy to have this one in the collection, and it's gonna have a really prime spot, I think, because it just looks cool. It's such a cool design. All right, now second to last in this haul, we have another really big build from Bionicle, and that being Vizon and Fenrak the 7th Paraka. And yeah, he is all too large to actually fit here in the studio and on the desk. This is a huge spider-like build. It is missing some pieces. You can kind of see here there's some missing elements on this leg. That piston is missing parts. But for the most part, again, this is like a 99, maybe a 95% complete set. And it's really awesome to see this in person. This is another one that I was so stoked about when I saw it in the comics. Never got to own it, but yeah, I'm gonna try and track down the rest of these pieces in my own personal collection. And hopefully I'll be able to get it at least a little bit closer to complete. I know he has a soft goods cape that is missing, so I don't know if I'll be able to find that or maybe get that off Bricklink. But either way, just having this giant freaking spider-like creature in the collection is so awesome and so intimidating. But unfortunately, he's too big to keep on screen for this final reveal because we have one final Titan to reveal from this haul. And while it's not complete, it is very nearly complete, and even so, it is so impressive. And that final figure is the Titan version of Takanuva, the 7th Toa of Light. This figure stands at almost 2 feet tall and is absolutely gigantic. Once again, these figures were probably in a price point that I could only dream of as a kid, and seeing it in person is really, really stunning. This figure implements some really cool pieces, like you can see back here this arm element acts as a support strut, because one ball socket would not be enough to support this arm when it's raised out to the side like that. The same thing happens here at the hip. You have extra ball sockets there to support the leg as it articulates. And yeah, what can I say? It's really, really impressive to see these big builds that LEGO was doing back in the day. And yeah, again, he's missing parts. You can see there, part of his leg is missing, and just, you know, some basic elements like that. It comes with the territory of buying a second-hand lot, but never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that this many Bionicle could be completed from one Facebook haul. Just for a sense of scale, look at how big he is just next to all these standard-sized figures. It's really insane. And I have no idea where I'm going to fit him into my collection, if I can at all at this point. I might need to wait for more space or something like that. And again, I don't know if I'll be keeping every single one of these from this haul, especially since there are a lot of duplicates that I already have in my collection, or just duplicates in general, like with those Rakshi. I might just have to pass those on to other collectors in the hopes that they find a better home there. But for the most part, I am so stoked to be adding so many awesome characters to the collection that I did not have before. And again, this was such a fun experience just to be building Bionicle again. So anyways, yeah, that is where I'm gonna wrap up this haul video. I hope you enjoyed this kind of trip down memory lane of Bionicle. I hope that it was just fun to take a look at all these sets, ranging from the oldest Bionicles to some of the most recent, or, you know, towards the tail end of the Bionicle era. Let me know down in the comments which was your favorite generation of Bionicle, like which series, what set of Toa, you know, maybe even just one individual set that really stands out to you as your favorite for nostalgia or coolness factor. Let me know. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to share those memories between collectors. For now though, if you want to follow me over on Instagram, the link is down in the description. I post toy content like toy photography and, you know, deals and things in my story there. So follow me over there if you want to keep up with the channel outside of the YouTube universe. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you all so much for sticking around. I hope you have a wonderful evening, noon, or night, depending on when you're watching this video, of course. And as always, I'll be sure to catch you all in the next video.